My weight loss journey, how it all began. People often see the after photos, the slimmer face, the confident smile, but they don't always see the years of struggle and hard work behind them. They don't see the moments of pain, the setbacks, the times I almost gave up. For most of my life, my body has been judged by doctors, by strangers, even by me. But behind every label, disabled, overweight, different, is a person who refuses to give up. So today I'm telling my story. Not for sympathy, but to show what determination really looks like. I'd like to share my weight loss journey with you, a journey that began back in 2012. These are some of the images of how I looked at the time. I'm just 4 foot 8 inches tall as a result of the physical impairment I was born with. I came into the world in 1962, affected by thalidomide, a drug my mum was prescribed while she was pregnant with me. It stopped my arms and legs from developing fully. I was born with arms shortened to elbow length and 3 fingers on each hand, no thumbs. My thigh bones are shortened by around 20 centimetres on both sides, and I don't have normal ball and socket hip joints. I was my mum's firstborn, and she had no idea what to expect from motherhood. Back then, newspapers were filled with stories about so-called monster babies being born with missing or deformed limbs. My mum read those headlines, never imagining that her growing bump would be one of those babies. There were no prenatal scans in the 1960s. My mum had no idea, not even as she gave birth to me, that I was anything other than the perfect baby she'd longed for. It had been a long and difficult birth. I was breech, and my mum, exhausted and lightheaded on gas and air, was completely unaware of what was about to unfold. The moment I was born, I was whisked away, the medical staff huddled together, quietly debating how to break the news to her. Her baby's arms and legs were short, fingers were missing. It must have been as much of a shock to them as it would be to her. My mum didn't get to see me straight away, not until she begged the night sister to bring her baby to her. When they finally did, she carefully unwrapped the blanket and for the first time took in what she saw. That quiet, fragile moment in which a mother met her daughter and a bond of unconditional love was formed. My mum did what she's always been brilliant at. She stayed strong, stayed positive. While my dad listed all the things I'd never be able to do, my mum noticed something different, that I had a finger on which to wear a wedding ring. It's impossible to truly understand what those mothers and fathers went through. They were totally unprepared for their babies to be born damaged, and they received no support. They were simply sent home with their tiny malformed newborns and left to get on with life. But that's a story for another day. Not long after I was born, my mum had 2 more daughters, my sisters Michelle and Yvette. She had her hands full with 3 little girls under 3 years old, but she was determined that we would all be treated equally. Mum always encouraged me to do everything my sisters could. I felt like any other child, playing with them, going to school, riding my bike. But there was always one difference: the way I walked. Because of how my legs and hips are affected, walking has always taken a lot of energy. I tire easily. But my arms and missing fingers? That's never really held me back. I could write, draw, and do crafts. There were challenges, of course, like getting dressed or reaching things on high shelves, but my sisters were always there to lend a hand, and I was a very bossy little girl. At 4 years old, I had major surgery on one hip. Even so, walking was always going to be hard work. I couldn't go as far as other children my age, but I could still run, climb stairs, and ride a bike. I was fearless. I tackled challenges head on. My mum instilled in me the belief that I could do anything I set my mind to, and I did. I'd say I started to become overweight around the age of 9. I was eating the same as my sisters, but because I moved less, the weight crept on. At 15, I was admitted to a London hospital for tests to see if anything physical was causing my excess weight. I remember sleeping under a plastic canopy whilst they monitored my breathing, having my urine collected, blood tests, heart tests, the works. After 2 long days, the verdict was simple. There was nothing medically wrong with me. I was eating more calories than I needed for my size and height. They handed my mum a basic diet sheet and sent us on our way. From then on, Mum packed my lunches for school, whilst my friends tucked into their hot school dinners pie and mash, followed by stodgy puddings with thick custard. I sat beside them, eating fat-free cottage cheese with sliced cucumber and tomatoes. Even back then, school dinners weren't great, but they suddenly seemed to be very appealing. Mum always cooked from scratch, and we had a good balanced diet. The problem was simply that my sisters were taller, more active, and walked or cycled 3 miles each way to school and back, whilst I was driven by taxi because of my mobility issues. Needless to say, the enforced diet didn't work. I didn't lose any weight. It wasn't until my 20s that my weight really began to bother me. I had good self-confidence, and despite my disability, I felt comfortable in my own skin. But like most young women, I wanted to fit in, to wear the same fashionable clothes as everyone else. Back then, clothing sizes rarely went above a 14, so my options were limited. I tried slimming clubs, Weight Watchers, Slimming World, but none of them took activity levels into account. Food was either free or forbidden. I'd start off motivated, then gradually slip back. A night out clubbing often ended with fish and chips on the way home. In 1991, I had my dream wedding. I married a man who seemed perfect. 5 years later, in 1996, I gave birth to my daughter. Through all of it, I kept going to the slimming clubs. I managed not to gain extra weight during pregnancy, and my mobility was still good, probably thanks to all those pregnancy hormones. Then, in 2002, everything changed. My husband, daughter and I were on holiday in France when we were involved in a head-on car crash. I broke my leg. I spent a week in a French hospital whilst they operated and pinned the bones. As a family, we were then flown back home to the UK, where the real challenges began. Because of my short arms, I couldn't use crutches, and that meant I couldn't reach the first floor of our house where the only bathroom was. I needed carers to help me every day for personal care, using and emptying a commode, and looking after my daughter. The healing process was long and painful. Even after the cast came off, my ankle remained stiff and sore. Physiotherapy didn't help much, and eventually I was told my only option was ankle fusion surgery. I sought a second opinion, and the specialist confirmed the same thing. The operation was brutal. My shin bone and ankle were fused together with screws. It meant 3 months in plaster and almost 3.5 years of being non-weight bearing. My already limited mobility became almost non-existent. I couldn't balance easily, couldn't move much at all. So I did what I could, which honestly was mostly eat. Others had to do everything for me, and the pounds piled on. By 2012, my weight had climbed to 14 stone. And although I could explain how it happened, I knew I couldn't keep living that way. Something had to change. So that's where it all started. But how did I keep going? What happened when life and my body threw me more curveballs than I could count? In the next episode, I'll share the setbacks, the strategies, and the moments that nearly broke me, and the ones that built me back stronger. You won't want to miss it. The barriers, the breakthroughs, the honest bits, all coming up. In the meantime, explore more at my blog, flidfit.com. Please like this video, and why don't you subscribe to my YouTube channel with notifications on so you'll be the first to see the next episode. Thank you for joining me on my journey.